Hey guys, so it's really early. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning here, and I had already planned to make this one video. But I'm gonna add a couple things in. I don't know how many people who have seen Deborah W. Deb's video. It would be true. I did fall down the stairs. So I guess I should probably share that. And I can't really hide the head. I could if I wore my hair down, I guess, but I just woke up and I have like 2 hours before I have to be at the hospital, and so I didn't really care enough to hide it. But yeah, I did fall down the stairs, and ironically enough, I was at the hospital. So, yeah, I learned that those stairs were very painful. I've fallen down so many flights of stairs in my life that I've probably fallen down more flights of stairs than I've had birthdays. But the ones at the hospital were really hard, and not only was it like really embarrassing, but also very convenient. But yeah, I was walking down, me and one of the nurses were going downstairs, and the elevator we have right down the floor, because we're on the 3rd floor, we're the top floor, and the staff elevator right there has been incredibly slow the last couple weeks. I actually timed it once, and it took 15 minutes to go 1 floor. And there was no one on the elevator because you can hear. And all the other elevators in the hospital, I won't ride them. I know that sounds weird, but they don't open level with the floor, and that kind of freaks me out. The doors open as it's still like leveling out, and freaks me out. So we had waited for like 10 minutes for the elevator, and we're like, let's just take the stairs. And yep, down I went. Very convenient because we did have one of the doctors on the floor, and they did come and make sure I was okay, and it was just bad. And so yeah, my head looks kind of worse than it is. I do have a headache. I have headaches a lot though, so it's really hard to tell if it was because I whacked my head or not. So yeah, I did get hit, and I'm not entirely sure if I just like tripped or fell or sort of passed out, or we have no idea. And we will probably never know, and I'm okay with that. It happens. So, and I wanted to share a really freaky story that happened to me. Recovering Potsy had posted her 50 things she has done video, and one of hers was almost getting run over by a deer. I have been run over by a deer. Talk about freaky. And I remember it very well. Will be 2 years next month. It was March 7th, 2010. You're like, why? How do you remember that? I had surgery the next day. So yeah, you kind of remember it. That was a pretty crazy week for me anyway. Like, I ended up in the ER, like on a Wednesday, really, really sick, and they kept me there forever, and then they needed me to have like this hiatus scan, and they couldn't do it till the next day, and I didn't want to stay, so they scheduled it for like the next morning. And I go, and the results come back like that Friday, and they're like, you have to go see a surgeon now. And so I go see a surgeon, and she goes, your gallbladder's not working. She goes, we're going to have to do surgery. And so that was Friday, and it was scheduled for the next Monday, which was March 8th, which just happened to be my spring break. So I had my roommate was gone already. She had gone home for spring break, and I had already planned to stay in town, and I think I was planning to work at the hospital, to be honest. And so that obviously didn't work out for me. I did go to the hospital though. And sorry, I'm really sleepy, so this is hard. I had cleaned most of Saturday because one of the ladies who works in the admissions department was going to come stay with me for several days after I got out of the hospital for surgery to make sure everything was okay and help me, basically, because at this point I had had my POTS diagnosis and my heart rates had been extremely high. I was still passing out, but we hadn't realized that I was dropping to like really low heart rates at the time. So we didn't know that aspect, and we just like my heart rates were just really high, but they weren't giving me medicines. They had given me a bunch of other medicines for everything else I had been diagnosed with at the point. And so one of them was like phenobarbital, which they were going to give me pain meds, and so they were really worried about how I was going to react to that. So she was willing to stay with me for that week. And so that I cleaned Saturday, and then Sunday night I was taking out the last little bit of trash that I had because I wanted it to be as clean as possible for Monday morning, and because I knew I wasn't going to be cleaning and I didn't want her to have to take out trash or anything. And so we had a really bad winter at that point, and we had like 3 feet of snow outside. It was like probably 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and where my apartment was at the time, there was a lot of woods, so we always had deer all the time. They would be out like during the day in like the parking lot or the houses across the street, and so you always had to watch for the deer to begin with. And I wasn't thinking, and I had to go between the 2 apartment complexes, and when I say complexes, they had like 6 apartments each. So it wasn't crazy. Well, there's apartments in the front and there's apartments in the back, and that was it. But I had to go around between the apartments, and then I had to go around the one that was on the side beside us, and the trash can, like the dumpster was over there. And so like I start walking around this house or the complex, and like 7 deer come running at me, and one like knocks me down and the other like steps on me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like how do you explain this? And so I really thought, and I was like, oh no. And so the only thing that's going through my mind is because they were afraid that my gallbladder was actually going to like rupture before they could get me to surgery. Because I had been so sick and it had progressed so fast, and they weren't entirely sure what was going to happen. And she had kind of wanted to keep me in the hospital for the weekend, but I was like, no, if anything happens, I'll call you. And so I was like freaking out. I was like, I have surgery tomorrow. Why am I getting run over by a deer? And of course my first thought goes to that, and then like my poor gallbladder, right? But they stepped on my legs, so it wasn't kind of bad. I was kind of afraid for my head, and I was guarding my stomach. It was just like the most bizarre thing ever. And to top it off, there's a guy that lived in the apartment under me that was on the back side of the apartment complex who was outside and witnessed it all. And so, yeah, that was interesting. And we had a retirement home that was behind the apartment complex, still on that road. And there was a couple people outside, and I was just like, this would be the day that something has to be witnessed like this. So, yeah, it was embarrassing to say the least. He did call an ambulance because he was afraid that I was really hurt. Luckily, there was like 3 feet of snow on the ground, because otherwise, I'm sure I would have had more injuries. But yeah, he did call an ambulance, and I've yet to live this down. That was like 2 years ago. So the medics checked me out, and they're like, "Yeah, you're all right." And they're like, "Do you want to go to the hospital?" I was like, "No, I have to be there in the morning. Like 7 o'clock in the morning. I want to go to bed." And so they ended up going to the hospital, and later that night, I guess, with a different patient. And so the staff found out, and so the ER staff and the mission staff found out about it. And so when I got back to the recovery room, or not the recovery room, out of the recovery room, they were admitting me afterwards. They were hoping I'd go home later that day, but I ended up staying for a couple days. But they sent me to the room, and I woke up, or I guess I was already up, but I was still kind of really groggy. And so I had a couple people from my missions, and Kim, who was the lady who was staying with me, present me with a gift. And I have to say, it was really funny. No one else really got it, but the ER staff that was coming up to visit me, and the mission staff, and a lot of the staff that knew me understood because they had heard. But they got me a deer. Yeah, a deer to, you know, not let me forget it. But I thought it was really cool. They did put like my name brand on it and everything, and so I will never forget it because it does have the date of my surgery. But yeah, that's my deer story. I did get hit by a deer. I did survive getting hit by a deer, and I was not in a car. I have a deer that I will always remember it for. But yeah, this video is much longer than I wanted because I'm rambling, and that happens because I'm got like 2 hours of sleep last night. So yeah, I have to go get ready to go to work. And so I hope y'all have a fabulous day, and I will talk to y'all later.